Did I?
Well, you have to retime.
Yep, I got it. I didn't get it.
Dude, just retime.
No, I didn't get it.
No, oh my god! Weegee, you fool!
Hey everybody, it's EZScape and welcome to the monthly reset, where we go over news and recent events going on in the speedrunning community. Our first story today is the first ever completion of Grand Theft Auto 5 without taking any damage by Unnamed. This challenge is performed by using a mod that makes it so anytime the character you're playing as takes damage, you instantly die. Prior to this achievement, Unnamed was not well known to the wider speedrunning scene and did all of his attempts offline, so many were surprised to see him being the first to claim this achievement. This ultimately led to Unnamed's run being heavily scrutinized due to it being performed offline, uploaded in 3 segments, and there were also some questionable spots during the run where you would assume he would take damage. For these reasons, Unnamed was getting absolutely dragged in his own comment section, where you would have expected it to be a bit more congratulatory. But the question is, did Unnamed actually cheat? Before we get into the rest of this story, I'd like to thank NordVPN for sponsoring this video. If you're like me and play competitive video games online, NordVPN is a great service for keeping yourself protected. Initially, I was pretty uncomfortable joining a TeamSpeak server to talk to my friends, knowing that somebody else in there, who I didn't know, could be obtaining my IP address to collect information about me, or even take down my connection entirely. Luckily, I connected to one of Nord's servers, and I was able to enter the call risk-free, unlike some of my friends who have had this happen to them even while they're live on Twitch.
Is this kid, was he trying to DDoS me?
Not only will Nord help you keep your connection safe and secure, but by connecting to servers from other countries, allows you to access location-restricted content on your favorite streaming services. You can even get cheaper flights and subscriptions to online services by connecting to different countries. For example, if I wanted to buy a RuneScape membership in the US, it's $10.99 per month. But by changing my country to Mexico, I can buy it for 123 Mexican pesos, which is nearly half the price. If you guys are interested in NordVPN, you can get it for as little as $3.18 per month by going to nordvpn.com/EZScape or using code EZScape at checkout. GTA Vice City speedrunner and moderator English Ben, who you may remember from the last monthly reset, collaborated with a handful of GTA 5 speedrun moderators to analyze Unnamed's run to search for evidence of cheating. I'll be summarizing their analysis, with a full video will be linked in the description if you want to check it out. So the first 2 pieces of evidence I stated earlier were that Unnamed's run was both performed offline and uploaded in 3 segments. As we've seen in the past, I'd say most cheated runs are performed offline since it's much easier to get away with compared to live streaming, but that's just a given. But in order to prove an offline run is cheated, it's going to require the same level of evidence as any online run. So the fact that it was performed offline doesn't hold much weight here, and we'd need to look at the other evidence first. It would be more suspicious if this was the only run this person has ever done of the game, but on screen you can see a playlist of an attempt Unnamed did with 2 deaths. Also, Unnamed's main reasoning for not streaming his runs is because it would be too much of a strain on his PC to stream and record at the same time. As for the video being uploaded in 3 segments, there is an easy explanation for this. It's because this challenge run was done in 3 sittings. I'm actually surprised that people were surprised about this, because challenge runs don't require the same proof standards as speedrunning leaderboards do. Most people that do long challenge runs of any game will take breaks and take multiple days to complete their challenges. Because the goal of the challenge isn't the same as a speed run, where taking breaks would negatively impact the end result. The only goal in this case is to not take any damage. Unnamed ended up sharing the files for his recordings, and pretty much everything checks out. There doesn't seem to be any tampering of the game files, and the dates of the video files are exactly what they should be of someone who played the game in 3 segments. But there are even more criticisms of Unnamed's run outside of his lack of reputation and potential splicing. During his run, there were several spots where you'd assume he would take damage, and because of the mod, should have died instantly, but he didn't. These include this ragdoll when jumping past a truck as Franklin, and his head-on collision with traffic.
Despair. Just as he hit rock bottom, he met a fat, silver-tongued troll under a bridge.
After further analysis, the moderators determined although Franklin did have a pretty brutal ragdoll, sometimes ragdolls just don't deal damage depending on how the character lands on the ground. So while giving Unnamed the benefit of doubt, he most likely got lucky in this section. As for the car crash, this seems to be more of an issue with the one-hit KO mod itself. Normally these small crashes can cause damage without the mod, but once it's enabled, you will no longer take damage from them. The results of the moderator analysis were that there was no conclusive evidence of cheating, and that this challenge run is most likely legitimate. So congrats to Unnamed on his achievement, and if you guys want to check out his full run, I'll have the playlist linked in the description. Dark Viper AU also played a large role in strat building and streamlining the route, and I'm really looking forward for when he completes his no damage run. I'll also have his no damage playlist linked in the description if you're looking for something with more commentary to explain the strategies. Back in May of 2017, the Portal 2 speedrunning community came together to create a segmented run of Portal 2 with the goal of using the lowest number of portals in as fast a time as possible. The appropriately named least portal speedrun of Portal 2 would end up being a 1 hour, 15 minute, and 39 second speedrun using only 100 portals throughout the entire game. This was achieved by 13 individual speedrunners, contributing to a total of 106 segments. The specific speedrun category that the community would decide to go with was SLA Inbounds, a category that requires you to remain inbounds at all times, but allows save loading to be used to perform specific glitches such as cube hopping. Normally when you stand on a prop and pick it up in Portal 2, there's a cooldown that prevents you from continuously picking up the prop to gain infinite height. However, by saving and loading, the cooldown is completely reset, allowing speedrunners to infinitely boost themselves upwards. This, alongside other clever tricks with props, as well as making good use of the speedrun's most useful mechanics like bunny hopping in order to jump over large gaps, allowed speedrunners to avoid placing as many portals as possible. While 100 portals was an extremely impressive achievement, averaging just over 1 portal per minute, the community still felt that there were improvements to be made. And on June 4th, 2021, just over 4 years since the 100 portals video was released, Source Videos premiered a new updated version where the community managed to collectively complete Portal 2 using only 69 portals throughout the entire run. Not only did they bring the total portals used down to 69, but they also brought the time down to 1 hour, 10 minutes, and 9 seconds, or you could also write it out as 69 minutes and 69 seconds. Since the 100 portals run from 2017, the community had grown substantially, and with that, more and more people were willing to work on such a project. The project began on the 13th of November 2020 and was completed in March 2021, taking a total of 114 days for all 14 runners to complete their segments. Interestingly enough, 69 portals wasn't actually the least amount of portals required to complete the game, but in fact 66 portals was possible. However, the community had decided that there were 3 portal skips which were not only slow and added a lot of time to the run, but were also incredibly boring to watch, with even one portal skip taking multiple extra hours and required a player to essentially AFK for the duration. Hence the decision was made to just shoot a portal instead. Despite this, the overall time of 69 minutes and 69 seconds was very much unintentional. After every segment had been recorded and placed together, they noticed that they were only around 5 seconds away from the 69:69 time, and so they seamlessly lost a few seconds here and there on purpose in order to line it up perfectly. Probably the craziest part of the run comes at the start of Chapter 7, the reunion. Here we see a segment by the runner Orin where they bunny hop out of the room onto a corner of a vent, which then bounces them over to the end of the level. This was, and still is, the only time anyone has ever hit that jump, and it was attempted over 11,000 times. All this resulted in only a 3.9 second time save over the old route. As far as trying to improve the Portal 2 least portal speedrun goes, it could be a while before we see any improvements. There isn't really much the community could do to save any more than around 10 seconds. It looks like the 69 minutes, 69 seconds, and 69 portal run will be around for a while. In Super Mario Bros. 2, an interesting new glitch was recently discovered that has the potential to save up to 2 seconds in the any percent category. This game actually has a secret set of inputs that you can do to immediately kill the player when executed. By having a second controller plugged in, and holding up B and A on the second controller while on the pause screen, the character will die, which can be useful in a situation where the game may accidentally soft lock and you need to get out. However, speedrunners recently found a better use for it. In 4-1, 4-2, and 7-1, there's a rocket that you must take in order to reach the next part of the level. It was discovered that if you were to pause while in the rocket and use the secret controller code on the second controller, the rocket would boost up much faster than normal. It isn't just as simple as doing the rocket boost and then carrying on with the speedrun as you normally would, as doing this trick causes you to take damage, changing the way that speedrunners have to approach the rest of the level. In 4-1, there's a double jump at the end of the level that involves throwing a Shy Guy to jump off of. However, as Small Toad, you don't throw as far, so runners have to take a slightly different approach to throwing the Shy Guy in order to perform the double jump. Overall, performing the zombie rocket strategy in 4-1 saves 50 frames, or around 0.8 of a second over the current world record strat. In 4-2, you only ride the rockets in the all-level speedrun of the game, so the any percent route is unaffected by the new trick. Nonetheless, it actually wouldn't be faster to use the zombie rocket in this level. In the speedrun, they take damage on the spikes, and then run to the end to pick up a star, which allows them to complete the spike section without dying. But due to taking damage in the zombie rocket trick, runners would have to play the spike section normally, which is slower than the previous 4-2 strat overall, losing around 1 second. In 7-1, depending on when you reach the rocket, you could either get a fast or slow cycle, which changes how quickly you will reach the top. But by using Zombie Rocket, you will always fly up much faster than the fast cycle. This doesn't always guarantee you a faster 7-1, as at the end of the level you have to kill Birdo. Runners would normally take damage as they provide the final hit so that they pick up the orb instantly. But since you are one hit from dying, you can't just throw yourself at Birdo to easily get the fast orb grab. It is still technically possible, but it's extremely precise. If you Zombie Rocket and get a fast orb grab, you will save 51 frames or 0.85 seconds. However, if you Zombie Rocket but miss the fast orb grab, you will actually lose somewhere between 10 and 20 frames compared to the current world record route. On December 19th, 2019, a Nier Automata speedrunner named Amai made a post on the r/speedrun subreddit announcing a $500 bounty for anyone who can claim a sub 3-hour, 45-minute world record in Nier Automata E-ending normal difficulty, and hold said world record for at least 3 weeks. The E-ending category is one of the longest speedruns for the game, as in order to get ending E, you first have to complete all other endings for the game. Ending A is achieved on your first playthrough, ending B is achieved upon completing the game for a second time and completing every single main story quest. Ending C and D can both be completed on your third playthrough and requires you to pick specific final boss battles. Then after all that, ending E becomes available during the credits by accepting a prompt that places you into a shooter minigame. Due to the lengthy nature of this speedrun, Amai felt that the category was often overlooked and was one of the more fun categories due to the diversity and variety of gameplay as you play through the game multiple times, achieving different goals each time. And thus he wanted to incentivize some competition for the category. At the time of their post, the record stood at 3 hours, 48 minutes, and 24 seconds. But he knew a sub 345 was possible, yet difficult, and would require a ton of skill and consistency to achieve. Not a lot of competition would arise until the start of 2021, when a runner named Danflesh decided to pick up the game again and shifted his focus to the E-ending category. He actually had no idea the bounty was ongoing, as by this point, Amai had actually achieved a sub 345, thus he presumed the bounty may have been closed. Danflesh didn't even expect himself to get close to world record when he started doing runs, but after a few months of grinding, he achieved a 3:43.24, beating Amai's world record. There wasn't really any major time save or any different strategies, just better consistency and a clean run. It was at this point that Dan would get a welcome surprise, as Amai would inform him that the bounty was in fact still on, and if nobody was to beat that record in the next 3 weeks, the $500 would be his. And as it would happen by May 9th, Dan's record stood still, and he was able to claim the bounty set almost 2 years ago. Hey everybody, I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Monthly Reset. If you did, be sure to leave a like, as it's the best way to show support. Some of the stories in this episode were a little bit older, but that's because they were scrapped from the previous episode, and we decided to throw them in this one because they were definitely still worth sharing, and that's kind of the point of the series anyways. If you guys are looking for more content from me, I've been streaming a ton of Yu-Gi-Oh! Over on Twitch, so I'd appreciate it if you guys checked out my stream over there if you're interested in that type of content, or watching some of my highlight videos posted over on my second channel, EZScape Speedruns. That's pretty much all I want to say. Thank you all so much for the support, regardless of what content you decide to watch of me. And as always, I hope you all have a beautiful life. Are you... No, on his first draw! On his first draw! No!